What's up, fam? It's Earth and I time. It's Shayna's time to shine. I have had a lot of downloads coming through, and so it's hard to just kind of center on one thing. But overall, this message is to remind you that protecting your peace is worth any moment of discomfort that you might face. It's not easy to understand what it takes to keep you at ease, to keep you feeling safe. But it is your responsibility to do the things that you need to do in order to maintain that relaxation, that zen, that clarity. A download that came about this was, we make such excuses for why we don't do certain things. And it's just so much easier if we admit and are honest with ourselves about why we're not doing what we need to do. Like, I'm too tired. Instead of, well, this happened today and this happened, just cut to the chase. It can be so uncomfortable. Just know that it is uncomfortable. Yet evolution and growth are meant to be that way. They just are, especially as humans when we develop, this level of comfort and safety to our surroundings and situations that we're in, it makes it even more difficult. But at the end of the day, the easiest way to grow and evolve is in a natural, relaxing, safe, ironically, setting for yourself. I made another video about boundaries that kind of tie into this as well. But, expressing what you need and telling people what you need or not saying anything can be a super powerful, ooh, that's really powerful. Silence. I'm glad that that came up. Silence is literally a superpower. It is a force to be reckoned with. I always grew up thinking silence was awkward and that I always had to fill silence with words and blah, 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 whatever. Yet as I have grown, I have noticed how powerful I feel when I use silence. Silence is like the pure embodiment of the mystery of life. It leaves you thinking, it leaves you questioning. Using that as a tool when you're protecting your peace, when you're doing the things that you need to do, you don't over-explain. You don't try to make the other person comfortable before yourself is comfortable. Using silence in so many different ways, in a very mature way, is stunning. It's beautiful. You don't always have to answer someone. You don't always have to fill the void. You can love the void and admire it and allow its presence to be there untainted. Wow. And standing in your power a lot of times is silent. You're not always explaining why you're powerful or why you're confident. You're showing it. You're showing it with your actions. Connecting that with actions speak louder than words. I bridged those two together, honestly, in this present moment where I truly understood that I have to focus on my actions and not the things that I say. It created a shift, and I noticed myself being comfortable with silence. And it's not just silence with other people, it's silence with yourself. We avoid silence a lot, yet silence brings peace. Eventually, maybe not at first, but eventually your own silence is a God-given gift that allows you to simply be, to just be. We're constantly overstimulating ourselves, and when something's not beneficial, but you can't let it go. A lot of times that's because you're avoiding something within self, something within the void. The more that you practice that, and the more, honestly, just taking a moment to realize that I'm uncomfortable with something right now. I'm uncomfortable with silence. I'm uncomfortable with sitting with myself. That's the only way that you move through that, not trying to take a different route. You have to go right through what it is that's coming up. In my own life, I have just recently experienced a place where I set a boundary without using words. I protected my peace without using words. I showed someone that the way that you are making me feel is not okay, and therefore I'm going to pull my energy away and not explain why. Now, you might think, well, you need to have that conversation. Yes, you do when you have some kind of intimate relationship with someone. If it is just, a coworker or someone you have just almost a shallow relationship with where it's kind of out of necessity, you don't have to do that. I'm telling you, you don't have to do that. If they have all the power to come to you and ask for a conversation, but expending that energy again, you don't need to do that. I wish that I would have known that sooner. That's one thing I wish I would have known sooner. Stop over explaining. Stop going out of your way to make everybody else comfortable when you're in pain, when you can't sit with yourself. You can only protect your peace when you know your peace. You can only protect your peace when you know your peace. Peace is pretty universal among us, yet each of us have our own unique twist on it, our own unique path to get to that centerfold. That is the most beautiful part. When you start learning your gateways into peace, a big one for me is writing, speaking, tapping into wisdom and meditating, yoga, all these kind of things that lead me home, and I fill my life with them. When we feel like those pathways are getting infiltrated or disturbed, we have to take an action. We can't just sit back and let that continue. It's a really beautiful journey because we have to get to know those pathways. And once we get to know them, we're willing to do anything to maintain their beauty. It's like having a child. I feel like a lot of times when you start really exploring, you start seeing yourself as a child. Not in like a baby way, but in a way that you want to so viciously protect and keep safe and lead to make great choices. It's self-love. It's true self-love. No matter how uncomfortable it might feel, nothing is worth your well-being. Nothing is worth it. Now, of course, there's certain situations where we have to, find balance and make sacrifice. Yet once we develop that firm protection within, it comes with a discernment of knowing when we have to let our guard down. We will know when it's safe, and we will know when it is not. When it is not, we have to take action. We have to make something happen where we're signaling that we're going to stay on this frequency. It's easy to think about it as frequency in the respect that, think about, energy pulsating. I'm thinking about a bunch of colorful little orbs just pulsating. And then these grayish, they're colorful orbs like purple and yellow, chakra colors. And then these gray orbs kind of come over and start, smearing them in a way that takes them out of their natural state. And the other orbs, it's their job to reform those orbs and create a guard against their energy field so that that gray cannot come in. Boundaries, protecting your peace. It's all kind of the same thing, but having different perspectives on it can be really, really helpful. It's kind of like learning, it's rare that two children learn the same way. Having multiple avenues into these kind of ideas is so powerful. Yet it's the universal truth. You have to be willing to create boundary and protect who it is that you are and your sanity and your sanctuary of your mind and the beauty of your body. Only in doing that can you truly bring your soul through. Can you truly live life authentically? at those mystic mountains. Don't be afraid of silence. Embrace it. Celebrate it with yourself, with other people, in your life. I think learning to sit with silence is truly a superpower. It really, really is. Especially in this world of overstimulation and constant hits of dopamine, sitting with silence and using silence is a superpower. Protecting your peace and willing to be uncomfortable with the intention of staying in balance, in alignment, keeping yourself safe and sane is the greatest act of self-love. There's so many great ones, but that's a really good one. It doesn't have to be nasty, it doesn't have to be mean, but it has to be done. Your actions are going to speak louder than your words. A perfect example of this is telling someone, I didn't like that you did this, okay? I didn't like that you did this. Yet not changing your behavior is an invitation for them to continue treating you that way, to continue doing that. I know that's hard to hear, but it's the truth. I learned that the hard way. I promise I learned that the hard way. Especially when you feel so articulate in your words have to sync up with your actions. You have to be saying what you mean. Meaning what you say is that your behavior attunes to what you said. Now, this is part of the human experience, the game, always being in sync, synchronizing. I remember I learned about hemisyncing, which is when you sync the two hemispheres of your brain, and that is a invitation for magnetic manifestation. The same thing is true to your actions and your words. Like, I am an author, right? Being very direct with your words. That doesn't mean anything unless I'm taking action in that direction. You see what I'm saying? And you can apply it to small avenues of life, big avenues of life, any avenue of life. But you just have to do that and starting small. Thank you so much for being here, babe. I appreciate you. I hope that this brought some value to your day, to your life. And may you know you're always divinely supported. Always, 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 always. In the sky, in the ground, in your heart, in your soul, in your loved ones. You're being divinely supported on the journey that you're on. But always remember, it's uncomfortable. You have to face discomfort. And it's going to come in a wide variety of ways, but that's how you really know that you're growing and you're evolving. It's uncomfortable for a caterpillar to break out of a shell and become a butterfly. You know, that's not the most glamorous kind of experience, but it shows us that, you know, the mystery and the not knowing and the discomfort, when we are taking the action and using our consciousness in a way that soothes our soul, is always going to match us with majestic beauty, with unknown beauty. It's yes. But yeah, protect your peace. All the things. Thanks for bearing with me. It was kind of all over the place, but it's what the sun does to me. All right, I will see you next time. Enjoy your day, love.